Ontario Premier Doug Ford has got himself into a bit of a conundrum. On the one hand, he wants the province's auto industry to switch over to electric vehicle manufacturing. He thinks that's a great opportunity for the Ontario economy. On the other hand, he absolutely refuses to provide any of the incentives and subsidies that you see at the federal level or in provinces like BC and Ontario, saying that it is that all he would be doing is subsidizing millionaires. So there seems to be a bit of a disconnect there. And I'm going to talk to Joanna Kyriazis from Clean Energy Canada about that. So welcome to the interview, Joanna.
Hi, Markham. Thanks for having me.
Now, this seems like a really odd position for Ontario to take. You would think that that Premier Doug Ford would want to create a domestic market for this industry that he wants to grow. What's your take on that?
I agree, Markham. Right now, we are really seeing sort of a tale of two Canadas when it comes to electric vehicles. And so we've got the provinces of BC and Quebec where, at this point, 1 in 10 of every 1 in 10 new cars being sold are electric. Every other car you see on the street is electric. And those governments are offering policies that help you, purchase an electric car, install a charging station at home. And when you walk into a dealership, you're much more likely to find an EV to buy. Meanwhile, in Ontario, we're seeing only 3% of new car sales electric, which is lower than the national average. Even in cities like Toronto, Toronto significantly trailing Vancouver and Montreal when it comes to EVs on the road. And so I'm not quite understanding why Doug Ford will not come around to helping Ontarians buy the cars that their neighbors will be selling. But we're hoping that things will be changing soon.
Now, one of the things that has puzzled me for a while is the fact that the Ford government has no interest in climate policy. It doesn't have a climate plan. It certainly doesn't have a plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from transportation. Whatever is being done at the municipal level or at the federal level. And at some point, is the pressure from the federal government? I mean, why wouldn't the federal government just come in and say, okay, we have a backstop program like we do for carbon pricing and other things, and we're going to apply it, and Ontario is just going to have to live with it?
Well, we'll see if that is about to happen. So that's certainly what we're advocating that the federal government do. The feds have committed to 100% electric vehicle sales by 2035 and at least 50% electric vehicle sales by 2030 en route to that 2035 deadline. Now, provinces like BC and Quebec, they already have their own ambitious policies in place, and we'd like to see the federal approach leave room for those provinces to keep raising the bar of ambition. But we'd also like to see the feds set a backstop for provinces like Ontario who aren't willing to go there on their own. And so, I think this is one of Prime Minister Trudeau's top priorities when it comes to climate policy in the next 6 to 18 months. And we'll have to look at, what they do.
It almost seems like Ford is taking the auto industry for granted. They say, well, look, we've always been the province that we're the home of the auto industry. We have all of the 700 or so supply chain companies that serve the automakers. Where else are they going to go? So we don't have to do anything else to support it. We don't have to have a domestic demand because, they're going to be here anyway. And my take on this, Joanna, is that he misunderstands how it works these days. You can build an EV, like a truck or something. You don't have to build it in Ontario. You can now build it in other places because of the nature of the technology. Do you think that maybe he's being a little short-sighted here?
So I don't know if that's true. I do think that automakers are really reliant on their existing footprint and would prefer to retool existing factories and leverage existing supply chains to the extent that they can in the transition to electric vehicles. But I also know that certainly automakers have threatened to pick up and leave if governments put in place policies that require them to move towards electric vehicles more quickly than they would want, like EV sales mandates. That said, there's no reason why Premier Ford should not be helping to support more Ontarians to buy electric and to drive electric vehicles. That is consistent with what automakers are looking for. If you look at the auto industry groups in Canada today, they want to see EV rebates. They want to see more investments in public charging stations, to make sure there's going to be demand and to make sure that consumers can buy the vehicles that they're going to be bringing online in the next few years. And so this again is where I'm not quite understanding what the holdup is and why Premier Ford will not bring back the EV rebates, the building code requirements, and the investments in public charging that consumers, environmentalists, and the auto industry are looking for.
It does seem like an odd disconnect, and even if I was overstating the case on passenger and truck sales, that's only part of the market here. I mean, there's delivery vans and heavy duty trucks and all sorts of specialized EVs. Those are really what I had in mind that Ontario could capture. But maybe necessarily won't, because he's not supporting, Premier Ford is not supporting the industry as much as he should. Debatable point. We'll leave that for another day. Joanna, thank you very much for this. Really appreciate your insights.
Thanks for having me today, Markham.